July 3rd, 1988. The USS Vincennes powers north towards the Strait of Hormuz to investigate reports of aggressive activity by Iranian gunboats. Now, these same boats have fired on the Vincennes helicopter.
Jesus!
Captain Will Rogers has been in the Gulf for just over a month, but he's already earned a reputation as a commander who's prepared to take decisive action.
Set general quarters.
Officer of the deck, set general quarters.
Meanwhile, 54 miles away at Iran's Bandar Abbas airport, Iran Air Flight 655 is waiting to push back. It's scheduled for a routine 28-minute trip across the Strait of Hormuz to Dubai. 37-year-old Mohsen Rezayan is the captain.
Pentagon, this is IR-655 standing by for ATC clearance.
He was very enjoying what he was doing. He really liked it. He was logging so many hours, over 10,000 hours of flight.
Request update on status of IR-655.
Captain Rezayan's flight is delayed because of a passenger with immigration problems. It's 27 minutes behind schedule, a delay that will prove critical as the day's events unfold. Meanwhile, the USS Vincennes closes to within striking distance of the Iranian Boghammer gunboats. Even though the gunboats have already fired on his ship's helicopter, Captain Rogers only has authority to open fire if he believes his ship itself is under direct threat. And in the Gulf haze, it's hard to see just what the gunboats are up to. Captain Rogers doesn't have to wait for the gunboats to open fire. If they behave aggressively, that's reason enough for him to take the first shot.
Coming inbound fast. 1-350 is inbound.
This is Vincennes. Request permission to engage. Boghammer Group.
Captain Richard McKenna, the surface commander for the Gulf, is on board his ship in Bahrain. He immediately grants Rogers permission to engage.
The rules of engagement at that juncture were quite clear, and so there was no question as to what was required at that juncture.
I say again, take Boghammer Group with guns over.
Gulf Sierra, this is Vincennes. Opening fire with guns. Assumed hostile track 4456. Vincennes out. You can fire for effect.
It's 9:43 a.m. A routine encounter in the Persian Gulf has become deadly serious. This is the first time the crew of the Vincennes have ever seen action.
It's a 028 now.
Combat was, that was the furthest thing probably from any of us. Even though we were a combat ship, it was one of those things. It's like, it'll never happen to us, but yet it did.
The gunboats are returning fire, but their shots are falling short. The two U.S. ships join forces to take them on together. The result, a battle that's fast-moving, with frequent changes of course.
Verify me rounds to the tray.
At this point, the Vincennes and the Montgomery are locked in a full-scale sea battle. Anything that approaches them is viewed as a possible threat.
Battery released, 10 rounds, weapons.
Lieutenant Commander Scott Lustig is responsible for alerting the captain to potential airborne threats. He's been tracking an aircraft that suddenly changed course and is now heading toward the Vincennes.
Track number 4472, Iranian P-3, range 62 miles.
They identify the plane as an Iranian P-3 Orion, a long-range maritime surveillance aircraft. Broadcasting over a military frequency, the Vincennes warns the P-3 that it's being tracked. This is standard procedure.
This is a United States Naval warship. Request you state your intentions.
U.S. warship, this is Iranian Papa 3. Our intention is search mission. We keep clear of your unit.
The pilot promises to keep his distance, but Captain Rogers knows the P-3 is still watching him on radar. He's concerned that it could call in an Iranian airstrike.
Hey, I want rounds in the tray. Give me a firing solution for that northernmost group of bog hammers. Scott, keep me updated on the P-3.
Meanwhile, with all his passengers finally on board, Captain Razian is ready to depart.
S3-E5 is open.
Iran Air 655.
On July 3rd, there are 10 civilian flights scheduled from Bandar Abbas. But the Iranian Air Force also uses this airport. And according to U.S. intelligence reports, the recent transfer of F-14 fighters here poses an increased threat.
655 cleared for takeoff. Thank you very much. Good day.
Captain Razian has no way of knowing that Iran Air 655 is heading directly towards a raging sea battle. Within seconds of liftoff, the Vincennes detects Flight 655. But even with a sophisticated radar system, the ship can't determine the exact size or type of aircraft. To determine whether the aircraft is friendly or hostile, Identification Supervisor Anderson uses a system called IFF.
All large aircraft have IFF. They all have identification friend or foe. Every aircraft has its own code, and you're able to look up that code and say, okay, it does give you more information.
Anderson sets out to identify the IFF signal of this incoming track. At the press of a button, an electronic pulse radiates into the atmosphere. And aircraft transponders automatically bounce back an electronic reply, squawking codes that reveal whether an aircraft is friend or foe. Modes 1, 2, and 4 indicate military aircraft. Iran Air 655 has squawked Mode 3.
Everybody has Mode 3. So that alone doesn't identify a non-hostile aircraft. It could be civilian, it could be military.
A military aircraft could conceal its identity by squawking Mode 3. So Anderson consults a commercial air schedule to see if a passenger flight is due to depart from Bandar Abbas at this time. But he finds nothing.
Unidentified Iranian aircraft on course 203, speed 303 knots, altitude 4,000 feet. This is United States naval warship bearing.
Next, the Vincennes tries to contact the plane directly on a military distress
You are
frequency.
approaching United States naval warship in international waters. Request you state your intentions. Over.
But there's no response. The Vincennes has state-of-the-art technology, and yet it doesn't have a radio tuned to civil air traffic control frequencies.
Unidentified aircraft on course 206, speed 316.
Only one option remains. Call the mystery aircraft on the civilian international air distress frequency.
United States naval warship. Request you remain clear.
But there's still no answer from Flight 655. The incoming plane is closing in on the Vincennes at nearly 5 miles a minute. To make matters worse, its IFF signal appears to have changed. The plane is now squawking both Mode 3 and Mode 2, 1100. When Anderson consults his code list, he makes a startling discovery. A plane squawking 1100 could be an Iranian F-14 fighter jet.
All stations IDS, I have a possible Mode 2 on track 4131, 1100, which breaks as an F-14.
Possible Mode 2.
Breaking as an F-14.
I repeat, incoming Mode 2.
Anderson's words spread like wildfire throughout the CIC. The captain's tactical displays now identify this incoming aircraft as an F-14 fighter. Just 29 miles away, Iran Air Flight 655, with 290 passengers, climbs out over the Persian Gulf. They have no idea that they've been misidentified and are on a deadly course. An Iranian passenger jet is heading for Dubai and flying into danger. It's July 3rd, 1988, an Iran Air Flight 655 is about to cross paths with the USS Vincennes, a U.S. naval warship doing battle in the Persian Gulf. Somehow, the Vincennes has misidentified it as a hostile incoming F-14.
Possible mode 2.
Back in the 70s, the U.S. sold 80 F-14s to their then ally, the Shah of Iran. Now these jets are the most up-to-date fighters in the Iranian Air Force, and the crew of the Vincennes thinks one of them is about to attack.
My heartbeat was way up, my blood pressure was way up. It was like, wow. I mean, the adrenaline was just flowing.
Lieutenant Commander Scott Lustig is the ship's anti-air warfare coordinator. With the incoming plane only 27 miles away, he asks headquarters for permission to shoot it down if it comes too close.
Iranian F-14 appears to close my position. My intention is to engage at 20 nautical miles if he does not turn away. Do you concur? Over.
You should warn aircraft first, then take it under fire.
You start crossing 20 miles, and it's an absolute threat to the ship. You're out there in the middle of the ocean. It's serious business.
On board the Vincennes, the pressure is mounting. But at this critical moment, just when Captain Rogers needs to focus on this new threat, there's a crisis in the battle with the gunboats.
We've got a foul bore down here. Captain, we have a situation with Mount 51.
In the midst of combat, the ship's forward 5-inch gun has jammed.
All right, full rudder turn.
Bridge CIC.
Hard to port. Steady ship's course. 280 degrees, maintain speed.
That's 25 knots.
Rogers has to turn his ship at high speed, swinging the cruiser's rear gun around so it faces incoming fire.
Bring aft gun to bear now.
As Captain Rogers battles the Iranian gunboats, Captain Rizayan of Flight 655 continues his steady climb to cruising altitude.
Dubai 0715.
Confirm you are squawking 6760.
Affirmative.
Rizayan confirms that he's transmitting the correct civilian IFF code so that it can easily be identified on radar. On board the Vincennes, Lieutenant William Mountford makes a startling observation. The approaching plane is now squawking a Mode 3 IFF response. This could be a Com Air or commercial airliner, not a military aircraft after all.
Sir, possible Com Air.
Captain Rogers acknowledges the warning, but he's still troubled by the plane's failure to respond.
The aircraft was warned a number of times, continued to close. Time is a demon here. If I have a long time to sort things out, you're going to take more time to look at this and more time to look at that.
Unidentified aircraft on course 2.
As Flight 655 crosses the critical 20 nautical mile threshold, the Vincennes warns it once again to alter course or risk the consequences.
20 miles from you. You are standing into danger and may be subject to United States defensive measures. Request you remain clear of me.
Captain Rogers now has the authority to shoot the plane down.
Captain, do you wish to engage at 20 miles? Captain, do you wish to engage the target at 20 miles? Captain, do you wish to engage the target at 20 miles?
Negative.
Captain Rogers delays firing. He hopes the plane will eventually respond to the Vincennes' warnings. Petty Officer Leach is the Vincennes' tactical information coordinator. He's responsible for making sure all air contacts are properly tracked. What he reports now seems to remove any doubts that this is a hostile aircraft.
Altitude declining.
They see the plane diving towards them, a classic attack profile.
Iranian aircraft on course 211, speed 385
Track 4131 approaching 13 nautical miles.
United States naval warship operating in international waters.
Wait a minute. I could be dead. The tension is just continually rising during this whole time. Everybody was on edge. Everybody was like, oh my God, what's going to happen next?
Subject to United States defense measures.
Inbound air contact, closing and descending 1,000 feet per mile. Range 13 miles.
Oh my God, it's getting closer. It's getting closer. What's the captain going to do? What's going to happen? You know, what are they going to do?
God damn it, he's getting close.
Mark, incoming bog hammer, bearing 042.
Air contact still inbound, increasing speed and descending, range 11 miles.
Captain Rogers' worst fear is that the Vincennes might face the same fate as another ship, the USS Stark. Just a year earlier, an Iraqi fighter launched 2 Exocet missiles at the Stark. The ship was nearly lost, and 37 sailors were killed. An inquiry blamed the incident on failures in command. The Stark had not defended itself. Its captain was reprimanded and allowed to resign from the Navy.
Captain, air contact still inbound, increasing speed and descending, range 11 miles.
Captain Rogers isn't about to make the same mistake.
Time is a demon here. At some point in time, you have to make the decision. When the aircraft reached a little over 10 miles, at that point in time, I either make the decision then or I don't make it at all because I reached minimum weapons range.
It's the moment of truth. Captain Rogers turns his fire authorization key.
Take order, track 4131.
Do I have a take order on the contact?
Yes, take.
Birds away. Rails clear.
Iranian aircraft on course 209, speed 353 knots. This is United States.
As the final warnings go out on the military air distress frequency, Rogers keeps his finger on the hold fire button so he can destroy the missiles if the aircraft finally responds.
Estimate 10 seconds to intercept.
Up on the bridge, the crew confirms the kill. The plane they believed was attacking them has been destroyed. Captain Will Rogers thinks he's just saved his ship from destruction. Nothing could be further from the truth. In reality, he has just made a decision that will shock the world.
God damn it, he's getting close.
July 1988. At the height of a naval battle in the Persian Gulf, the USS Vincennes detects an incoming aircraft. The ship's Combat Information Center identifies the plane as an Iranian F-14 fighter jet. And after it fails to respond to warnings, the Vincennes captain shoots it down. But Captain Rogers has just made a fatal mistake. He's destroyed an Iranian passenger plane flying in an international air corridor. 290 passengers and crew are dead. Iranian television broadcasts graphic footage of their bodies floating in the Gulf. For Captain Rogers, the burden is heavy. Whatever mistakes have been made, he bears the ultimate responsibility. But for the victims' families, it's worse. Captain Rezaian's elder brother, Hussein, tries to identify his remains in a temporary mortuary in Bandar Abbas.
When I look at those bodies, I just can't control myself, and I just try to think about something else, not to think of what I saw.
Captain Rezaian's body is never recovered.
Really, I shattered our family, especially his kids, his wife, my parents, which they're still living, and there is not a day that they don't talk about this, of what happened, why it should have happened.
There's an immediate international outcry. The world wants to know how a cruiser with a state-of-the-art combat system could have mistaken a passenger airliner for an attacking Iranian fighter.
Captain, do you swear that the evidence you are giving in this matter, now an investigation, is the truth, the whole
The U.S. government appoints Rear Admiral William Fogarty to conduct an investigation.
My first reaction was, it was a tragedy. The thing that stuck the most to me was, you've got a lot of responsibilities ahead of you, Fogarty, and probably some sleepless nights.
And nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
The government conducts the investigation in accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice. The stakes are high. Investigative journalist Roger Charles is a former Marine officer who's examined the story.
You're looking at a guy who's on top of the world. He's the captain of the billion-dollar Aegis cruiser, and now he's sitting at a table facing possible court-martial and, even prison time.
Fogarty's team scrutinizes the actions of the Vincennes crew on that day in forensic detail. When Flight 655 first appears on radar, the USS Vincennes is in the midst of a battle with Iranian gunboats. All aircraft within a 62-mile radius are monitored to ensure they don't pose a threat. Identification Supervisor Anderson starts by checking his commercial air schedule to determine if this is a passenger flight. But he's confused. The schedule lists departures in local time. Anderson is unsure whether that means the time in Bandar Abbas or Bahrain time, which is used on the ship.
You have the almost 30-minute delay caused by the late departure of IRR 655 due to a passenger with a visa problem. Then you have the 30-minute different time zone. So he looks at it, and he's seeing there's nobody within an hour scheduled to be over us.
The IFF system is designed to distinguish friend from foe. Admiral Fogarty needs to establish how the Vincennes could have confused a commercial airliner squawking Mode 3 with a fighter jet emitting Mode 2.
And in your mind, that was not ComAir.
In my mind, sir, it was not a ComAir.
And why?
Because I had saw that Mode 2 squawk, sir.
The Mode 2 was the big indicator for you?
Yes, sir.
From intelligence, Fogarty discovers that his Flight 655 prepared for takeoff at Bandar Abbas. An Iranian F-14 was also on the tarmac. Although Anderson rolled his ball tab to hook Flight 655 as it took off, he left it hooked for almost 90 seconds. So while the hook symbol moved towards the Vincennes, the system was still reading IFF signals from the airport at Bandar Abbas. A tragic combination of poor systems design and human error.
He left the ball tab on Bandar Abbas. So what we believe happened, and I'm pretty sure this is exactly what happened, he picked up the Mode 2 of the Iranian fighter that was getting ready for takeoff behind the Airbus.
When the Vincennes identifies an F-14, it seems to confirm warnings to anticipate trouble over the July 4th weekend.
I repeat, incoming mode 2.
The captain believes that the incoming aircraft is part of a coordinated strike on the Vincennes, an attack from both sea and air.
Sir, possible calm air.
So he places less weight on the warning that the incoming plane is possibly a commercial airliner.
Do you recall Lieutenant Montfort saying, calm air, calm air?
I absolutely remember him telling me that, and I think I raised my hand or something to that effect to indicate that I'd heard him.
You held up your decision to fire.
Yes, sir.
Why?
I wanted every bit of information I could get. IFF was an indicator, but I didn't care whether 1100 was an F-14 or that Falker that flies around out there. But at this point, I thought they always talk to us.
Iranian aircraft on course 211.
The Vincennes transmits a total of 10 radio warnings, but Flight 655 never responds.
What we do know for sure is the aircraft did not respond to the warnings. He had to have something, he being the commanding officer, as proof that this was commercial air. He never got that.
Unidentified Iranian aircraft.
The Vincennes transmits 7 of the warnings on a military frequency that Flight 655 can't receive.
The Airbus did not even have a radio that was set or could accept the military air distress frequency. I mean, it's just not something they had. They had no need for it. They were a commercial airplane.
The Vincennes broadcasts only 3 warnings on the civil distress frequency, and they don't clearly identify who the ship is trying to contact.
Unidentified aircraft on course 210, speed 350, altitude 10,000.
The Vincennes radio talkers cite the aircraft's ground speed.
Bearing 201, 20 miles from you. You are standing into danger and may be subject to United States defensive measures. Request you
But Captain Razayan's instruments show airspeed, a relative measurement. Flight 655's indicated airspeed could have been 50 knots slower than the 350-knot ground speed cited by the Vincennes.
So if the pilot hears that, well, who are they talking to? They haven't identified us. They must be talking to maybe the P-3 or maybe some other Iranian aircraft.
Throughout its flight, Iran Air 655 transmits its squawk code, the unique label that tells radars what flight it is. If the Vincennes had called out that squawk code, Captain Razayan could have known immediately that they were talking to him. But the U.S. Navy doesn't require its radio operators to use this code when talking to civilian aircraft. As Flight 655 nears his ship,
Captain, do you wish to engage at 20 miles?
The pressure on Captain Rogers intensifies.
Captain, do you wish to engage the target at 20 miles?
When you look at the time window that he had, he waited till the very last minute. And it becomes a point of, am I going to shoot or am I not going to shoot and wait, in which case he would not be following his responsibilities to protect his ship and his crew.
Captain Rogers receives reports that the plane is descending, apparently about to attack. For Rogers, this is the decisive factor.
Altitude declining.
It's the critical moment. Now Fogarty's team presses tactical coordinator Leach for answers.
Okay. Were you reporting descending elevations over the net?
Over the internal net? Yes, sir.
So in other words, when you saw that track, that aircraft start descending, you were reporting that up to TAO, CO, Gulf Whiskey?
Yes, sir.
Like an aircraft's black box, the Vincennes computers recorded all the data on the CIC's screens. Those records show that Iran Air 655 was never descending.
It was, in fact, ascending the whole time. That was a revelation that we had not anticipated.
Altitude declining.
Is it possible that somebody although the data showed perhaps that it was going up, would say it's going down, descending.
Fogarty sends a medical team, including a psychiatrist, to the Vincennes. They report that a condition called scenario fulfillment could have played a part in the tragedy.
Range 13 miles.
And as it turns out, where you believe something so badly is going to happen, that whether the data shows you it's not the case, you believe it's happening.
If those in command had checked their monitors, they would have seen that Flight 655 was not diving in a classic attack profile, but was continuing its steady climb.
Well, Scott, we have this disparity between what the data indicates happened and what the people said they saw at their various altitudes. Any idea why?
Well, sir, the disparity baffles me. I thought about this for many days now, and I came to the realization that this data to me doesn't mean anything because I reacted to people I had operated with who were reliable. And when they reported at short range, they had decreasing altitude, increasing speed. I had no reason to doubt them. I had to make a split-second recommendation to the commanding officer, and I did.
So Lieutenant Commander Lustig trusts his men's judgment, and Captain Rogers trusts Lieutenant Commander Lustig's.
My confidence in Lieutenant Commander Lustig confirmed to me that the aircraft was, in fact, a threat. At 9 miles, I felt I could no longer delay defensive action. I granted firing permission.
When I looked at the timeline that he had to make a decision and the information he was given upon which to make that decision, it was my feeling, to this day I still feel the same way, that he made the right decision with the main thing in his mind: I don't want my ship to get hit.
Take order, track 4131.
The Vincennes' sophisticated combat information system gave its crew accurate information, but their fear created a threat where none existed. After a month, Admiral Fogarty's investigation is over. He finds that the downing of Iran Air 655 was not the result of any negligent or culpable conduct by any U.S. naval personnel, and that Captain Rogers acted in a prudent manner given the information available to him and the short time he had to make his critical decision. The report says Iran must share the responsibility, having hazarded one of their civilian airliners in close proximity to hostilities. The U.S. government publishes an edited version of Admiral Fogarty's investigation, but it conceals one key fact from the world, and that fact will cast a whole new light on the tragedy of Iran Air Flight 655. In August 1988, a detailed inquiry into the shooting down of Iran Air 655 concludes that the captain and crew of the USS Vincennes acted properly in the face of what they believed was a threat to their ship. But investigative journalist Roger Charles is not convinced. He reads a copy of the inquiry and wonders why it contains no map showing the Vincennes' position.
I knew the fact that there was no such chart in the Fogarty report, again, was a signal, and a curious signal to me. Why is it not there?
Skipper, you better come down. Sounds like the Montgomery's got her nose in a beehive.
I'll be right there.
When Captain Rogers of the USS Vincennes hears that Iranian gunboats are harassing a merchant ship, he's well south of the action and destined for a port in Bahrain.
Gulf Sierra, this is Vincennes. Request permission to support USS Montgomery against surface contacts. Over.
Rogers asks Captain Richard McKenna, his surface commander, for permission to turn north to support the Montgomery. McKenna only authorizes him to send his helicopter to investigate.
Roger that. Vincennes out. Vector in, Ocean Lord.
Captain McKenna later discovers that the Vincennes has turned around and closed on the Montgomery's position. McKenna orders Captain Rogers to leave the helicopter in place and turn back immediately.
It was really my call, and yet, even though they were assigned another station, they took it upon themselves to be there. And to that extent, I feel that, you know, I mean, that's where the general feeling, and not just my own, comes that maybe they were looking for trouble.
Jesus! Tornado Lord, this is Ocean Lord 2-5. We are taking fire.
Once the Iranian gunboats fired upon the Vincennes helicopter, the situation changed.
Close Ocean Lord's position at best speed, bearing.
The rules of engagement now allow Captain Rogers to respond with force.
Officer of the deck set.
He's now authorized to head off in hot pursuit of the gunboats. But where does that lead him? In 1990, Roger Charles obtains a copy of a restricted report on the destruction of Iran Air 655 by the International Civil Aviation Organization. It gives the Vincennes coordinates. Charles plots them on a chart. At the time of the shootdown, the Vincennes is over 2.5 miles inside Iranian territorial waters. By chasing the gunboats back into Iranian territory, Rogers inadvertently places his ship directly in the flight path of Iran Air 655.
Pressing hold the ship, crossing the Iranian declared war zone line.
If Rogers had not taken the Vincennes up to attack the gunboats, there would have been no shoot down of IR 655. I mean, that's clear. There would have been no ongoing surface action. Rogers would have had his radar screen set for the air side of things. The focus would have only been on the air picture. They would have had plenty of time to make a proper determination that this was a commercial airliner.
Despite the tragedy, the crew of the Vincennes receives a hero's welcome when they return to port in San Diego.
Captain, do you wish to engage the target at 20 miles?
Lieutenant Commander Scott Lustig is awarded a Navy Commendation Medal for his ability to maintain his poise and confidence under fire.
Take order, track 4131.
Captain Rogers receives the Legion of Merit for his performance as commanding officer of the Vincennes. Both men have since retired from the Navy. Every year, the families of those who died on Iran Air 655 commemorate their loss in the Persian Gulf. For Hussein Rezaian, the brother of Flight 655's captain, time has not healed the wounds.
I still feel the same way. Although I try to keep myself busy, not to think about it, because it's still, I mean, it's an unforgettable human tragedy. Even after 17 years passed, the horrors of what went on in that day, you know, still lingers on in everybody's life.
In a world where technology grows ever more sophisticated, fear, the most basic of human instincts, can still create the greatest tragedies.